The pirate fleet struck Zephyr Station like a cosmic hurricane. 20 sleek black ships swarmed around the massive military facility, their weapons tearing through defensive shields that had protected the station for decades. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the corridors as alien soldiers rushed to battle stations. In Hangar Bay 3, Commander Vexstar rallied the trial competitors. His plasma cannon was fully charged, and his natural Krillian armor gleamed under the emergency lighting. "Listen up, warriors," he shouted over the sound of explosions echoing through the station's hull. "These pirates think they can raid a military installation and steal our technology. We'll show them what the galaxy's finest can do." Lieutenant Zikdal's 6 arms moved rapidly over his weapon controls, configuring his energy rifle for maximum damage output. "My sensors show they're using ships we've never seen before. Unknown technology, unknown capabilities." Captain Mordith's fusion lance hummed with barely contained power. "Unknown technology means nothing against superior firepower. We'll blast them back to whatever hole they crawled out of." The other competitors nodded in agreement, confidence flowing through the group despite the unprecedented attack. They had the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. What could pirates possibly do against them? Marcus Chan stood quietly at the back of the group, his rifle case slung over his shoulder. While the alien soldiers made their battle plans, he was thinking about the cargo container he had visited just minutes before. "Human!" Commander Vexstar called out. "Can that antique rifle of yours function in space combat?" "It won't be needed for space combat," Marcus replied calmly. Vexstar laughed grimly. "True, this fight will be over before infantry weapons matter. Our ship defenses will—" His words were cut off by a massive explosion that shook the entire station. Emergency announcements echoed through the corridors. "All defensive turrets offline." "Repeat, all defensive turrets offline." "Pirates have disabled our primary weapon systems." The confident expressions on the alien soldiers' faces began to change. "Boarding pods detected," came another announcement. "Multiple breaches in Sectors 7, 12, and 15. All personnel prepare for ground combat." Now the infantry weapons would matter very much indeed. The first reports from the battle zones were not encouraging. The pirates were using weapons and tactics unlike anything in the galactic database. They moved with precision that suggested military training, and their equipment was advanced enough to punch through station security systems designed to stop anything in the known galaxy. "Sector 7 has fallen," came a desperate communication from the station's security forces. "We need reinforcements immediately. Sector 12 is overrun. Unknown energy weapons are cutting through our battle armor like paper." Commander Vexstar gritted his teeth. "All competitors move to defensive positions. We'll show these pirates what real warriors can do." The group rushed through the station's corridors toward Sector 12, their weapons ready. Marcus followed behind. Still carrying only his rifle case and the small equipment bag, they arrived at Sector 12 to find chaos. Station security forces were retreating down the corridors, their advanced armor scorched and damaged. The pirates had established a beachhead and were advancing methodically through the station's interior. Marcus got his first look at the attackers and immediately understood why the station's defenses were failing. These weren't ordinary pirates. They moved with military precision, used advanced tactics, and their equipment was unlike anything he had seen before. "Form defensive line Alpha," shouted Commander Vexstar. "Fire at will." The alien soldiers opened up with everything they had. Plasma bolts, energy beams, fusion lances, and bioweapons filled the corridor with deadly light. The concentrated firepower was incredible, enough to level a city block, but the pirates had portable shield generators that absorbed the energy attacks. They returned fire with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics, sending bolts of crackling energy that passed right through the defenders' cover. "Fall back," ordered Vexstar as his plasma cannon overheated. Regrouping at defensive line Beta, the retreat was orderly but desperate. The galaxy's finest warriors were being pushed back by an enemy they didn't understand. At defensive line Beta, the alien soldiers tried new tactics. Lieutenant Zikdal used his weapon's split beam mode to attack from multiple angles simultaneously. Captain Mordeth cranked his fusion lance to maximum power. Other competitors employed every advanced technique. They knew nothing worked. The pirates adapted to each new tactic within minutes. Their technology seemed specifically designed to counter energy-based weapons. Worse, they were learning the station's layout and exploiting weaknesses in the defense. "We need support." Vexstar called into his communicator. "Send everything we have." "Negative," came the reply from Station Command. "Sectors 7 and 15 have also fallen. All available forces are engaged. You're on your own." The situation was becoming desperate. The most advanced military technology in the galaxy was proving useless against an enemy that had clearly studied how to defeat it. Marcus Chun stepped forward. "Commander Vexstar," he said quietly. "Permission to retrieve additional equipment from Cargo Bay 17. Vexstar looked at the human incredulously. "Additional equipment?" "Human, we need heavy weapons, not more antique rifles." "Trust me," Marcus said simply. There was something in his tone that cut through the chaos of battle. Commander Vexstar had learned during the trials that this human was more capable than he appeared. "Go," Vexstar ordered. "But make it fast." Marcus disappeared down a side corridor, moving with purposeful speed toward the cargo bays. Behind him, the sound of battle continued as the alien soldiers fought a desperate delaying action. Cargo Bay 17 was in the station's lower levels, away from the current fighting. Marcus activated the bay doors with his security codes and stepped inside. The space was filled with containers from across the galaxy, but he moved directly to one specific crate bearing Earth military markings. Inside the crate was something that made even Marcus smile with anticipation. An H-64 Apache attack helicopter, specially modified for space operations. The machine had been disassembled for transport, but Marcus had trained for this exact scenario. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, connecting power systems, installing weapon mounts, and preparing the aircraft for immediate combat. The helicopter's main rotor had been replaced with a gravity drive system that could function in space or atmosphere. Its armor had been upgraded with materials that could withstand energy weapons. But the most impressive modification was mounted beneath the aircraft's nose. An M134 minigun, a 6-barreled rotary cannon, capable of firing 4,000 rounds per minute. Marcus had brought more than just an old rifle to Zephyr Station. He had brought 6 centuries of human military engineering, updated with Earth's most advanced technology. The helicopter's systems came online one by one. Targeting computer, active. Defensive countermeasures, online. Ammunition feed, loaded and ready. Marcus strapped himself into the pilot's seat and activated the gravity drive. The Apache rose smoothly from the cargo bay floor. Back at defensive line Beta, the situation had gone from desperate to critical. The pirates had broken through the corridor defenses and were advancing room by room through the station. The alien soldiers were down to their last ammunition supplies, and their energy weapons were overheating from constant use. "Where is that human?" gasped Lieutenant Zichtile as he ducked behind cover to avoid enemy fire. "Probably hiding somewhere safe," snarled Captain Mordeth. His fusion lance finally depleted of power. Commander Vexstar was about to order a final retreat when he heard a sound that didn't belong on a space station. The unmistakable whine of rotating machinery spinning up to speed. The pirates heard it too and paused their advance, trying to identify the source of the noise. That's when Marcus Chun's voice came over the station's communication system. "All defending forces, take cover immediately. Danger, close fire mission incoming." Before anyone could ask what that meant, the wall at the end of the corridor exploded inward. Through the breach came something that made every warrior in the galaxy stop and stare. A human attack helicopter, its rotors replaced by glowing gravity drives, its nose-mounted cannon already spinning at maximum speed. "Is that?" stammered Vexstar. "A flying machine with a rotating barrel weapon," whispered Zichtel in amazement. The pirates recovered first and opened fire with their energy weapons. The beam struck the helicopter's armor and simply bounced off, Leaving only scorch marks on the upgraded plating, Marcus's voice came through the helicopter's external speakers. Common professional, engaging hostile targets. The minigun opened fire, 4,000 rounds per minute of specially designed. Ammunition tore through the corridor like a metal hurricane. The pirates' portable shields, which had stopped every energy weapon the galaxy could throw at them, were simply overwhelmed by the sheer volume of kinetic projectiles. The sound was indescribable, a continuous roar that seemed to shake the station's very foundations. Spent shell casings rained down like metallic snow as the six-barreled cannon delivered precise, devastating firepower. In 30 seconds. The pirates' entire advance was stopped. In 60 seconds. They were retreating. In 90 seconds. Sector 12 was clear of hostile fork. Staff Sergeant Marcus Chun stepped off the transport shuttle onto the gleaming metal deck of Zephyr Station. The massive space station hung in the void between three star systems, serving as the galaxy's premier military training facility. Representatives from 47 different species came here to learn combat tactics, test new weapons, and prove their worth as soldiers. Marcus adjusted the strap of his worn leather rifle case and looked around. The station's main hangar buzzed with activity. Towering Krillian warriors, their blue skin covered in natural armor plates, practiced with plasma cannons that could melt through starship hulls. Slender Vexery pilots ran flight simulations in their floating pods, their forearms dancing across holographic controls. Groups of insectoid Thrax soldiers clicked and chittered as they maintained their bioweapons. Another human? The voice came from behind Marcus. He turned to see a group of soldiers watching him with barely hidden amusement. The speaker was Commander Vexstar, a Krillian whose chest bore the scars of 100 battles. His yellow eyes focused on Marcus's simple military uniform and the old rifle case slung across his back. "I am Staff Sergeant Marcus Chun. United Earth Military," Marcus said calmly. Offering a respectful nod, Vexstar's companions began to chuckle. There was Lieutenant Zictile, a six-armed hexapod whose species had conquered 3 solar systems. Next to him stood Captain Mordith, a hulking creature from the volcanic worlds of Pyrian, whose people were known for their love of massive, destructive weapons. "Welcome to Zephyr Station." "Human," Vexstar said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Tell me, what weapon do you carry in that ancient case?" Marcus's hand moved to his rifle case. "It's a modified M24 sniper rifle, sir. Manufactured on Earth approximately 60 years ago." The laughter that erupted from the group was loud enough to attract attention from across the hangar. Other soldiers stopped their activities to watch the entertainment. 60 years old? Lieutenant Zictile's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme amusement in his species. "My plasma rifle was built last week and can vaporize targets from 3 kilometers away." Captain Mordith stepped forward, his volcanic, rock-like skin glowing faintly with internal heat. "Human, I carry a fusion lance that can punch through battleship armor. Your primitive projectile weapon belongs in a museum." Marcus remained calm, his expression unchanged. He had heard similar comments before. Earth's admission to the Galactic Alliance had been met with skepticism from many species. Humans were seen as newcomers, primitive beings who still used chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons, while the rest of the galaxy had moved on to energy-based warfare. "Perhaps," Marcus replied simply. "But it has served me well." This response only increased the aliens' amusement. Word of the encounter spread quickly through the station's communication networks. Within hours, every soldier on Zephyr Station had heard about the human with the antique rifle. In the mess hall that evening, Marcus sat alone at a table, methodically eating his meal. The food synthesizers could produce cuisine from any world in the Alliance, but Marcus had chosen simple Earth food, a hamburger and fries. This choice had sparked another round of mockery from nearby tables. "Look at the primitive eating his cooked animal flesh," whispered a Vexery pilot to her companions. "Do they still hunt with spears on Earth?" "I heard some humans still use wheels for transportation," added a Thrax soldier, his insect-like head tilting as he spoke. "Can you imagine being so backwards?" Marcus continued eating, apparently oblivious to the comments. He had learned long ago that action spoke louder than words. Tomorrow would bring opportunities to demonstrate what humans could do. Colonel Thainrose, the station commander, entered the mess hall with his aide. The Altarian's crystalline skin caught the light as he moved, creating prismatic patterns across the walls. His species were known for their tactical brilliance and fair judgment. "Attention," the colonel's aide called out. "Colonel Thainrose will address all personnel." The room fell silent as hundreds of soldiers turned their attention to their commander. "Tomorrow begins the quarterly combat trials," Colonel Thainrose announced, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's acoustics. "All new arrivals will participate in marksmanship, tactical assessment, and live combat exercises. These trials determine assignment to elite units and special operations teams." Excited murmurs filled the room. The combat trials were legendary throughout the galaxy. Success meant assignment to prestigious units that protected important worlds or undertook dangerous missions behind enemy lines. Failure meant assignment to supply runs and garrison duty on peaceful worlds. "The trials will begin at 0800 hours in Combat Arena 7, the colonel continued. "All weapons are permitted, but participants must rely solely on their personal equipment. No support vehicles, no backup weapons, no assistance from others." As the colonel departed, conversations resumed with increased intensity. Soldiers began boasting about their weapons and planning their strategies for the trials. "I wonder if the human will even participate," Lieutenant Zichtal mused loudly. "That ancient rifle of his might misfire and injure someone? Perhaps we should suggest he borrow a proper weapon," suggested Captain Mordeth. "It would be embarrassing to watch him fail so completely." Commander Vextar shook his massive head. "Let him compete with his museum piece. It will provide entertainment for the rest of us." Marcus finished his meal and stood to leave. As he walked past the group of aliens, Vextar called out to him, "Human! Are you planning to participate in tomorrow's trials?" Marcus paused and looked at the Krillian commander. "Yes, sir. I am with that antique rifle." Vextar's tone mixed disbelief with amusement. "Among other things," Marcus replied quietly. The alien soldiers exchanged glances. "Other things? What else could a human possibly bring to a combat trial?" That night, Marcus worked in his assigned quarters, carefully cleaning and checking his rifle. The weapon was indeed old by galactic standards, but it had been extensively modified with Earth's latest technology. The barrel had been crafted from materials that hadn't existed when the original rifle was built. The scope incorporated targeting systems that could track multiple moving targets simultaneously. The ammunition was specially designed for use against alien armor types. As he worked, Marcus reviewed intelligence reports about his fellow competitors. The Krillians were known for their direct approach and heavy weapons. The Vexari preferred hit-and-run tactics with energy weapons. The Thrak used biotechnology that could adapt to different combat situations. Each species had distinct advantages, but they all shared one weakness: overconfidence. Marcus had studied the records of previous combat trials. Success rarely came from having the most powerful weapon or the most advanced technology. Victory went to those who could adapt, think creatively, and use their equipment effectively regardless of its age or perceived limitations. He smiled as he secured his rifle in its case. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. Meanwhile, in the station's communication center, word of the human competitor was spreading to other military bases throughout the sector. Gambling pools were being established, with odds heavily favoring the established alien species. Some bookmakers weren't even accepting bets on the human, considering his chances too remote to calculate. Commander Vextar sat in his quarters, reviewing tactical data on his fellow competitors. His plasma cannon was capable of devastating firepower, and his natural armor provided excellent protection. He had participated in these trials 3 times before, finishing in the top 5 each time. This time, he intended to win. The thought of the human with his primitive rifle brought another chuckle to his lips. Perhaps he would allow the human to survive the first round before demonstrating the superiority of modern military technology. It would be a good lesson for all the younger soldiers watching, but as Vextar prepared for sleep, he couldn't shake a small feeling of unease. There had been something in the human's eyes, a quiet confidence that didn't match his apparently inferior equipment. Vexstar had fought enough battles to recognize when an opponent was more dangerous than they appeared. He dismissed the thought. What could one human with an old rifle possibly do against the galaxy's finest warriors armed with the most advanced weapons technology had to offer? Tomorrow would provide the answer to that question, and Commander Vexstar was confident he already knew what that answer would be. The human would learn, like so many before him, that there was no substitute for superior firepower and advanced technology. As the station's lights dimmed to simulate night cycles for the various species aboard, hundreds of soldiers prepared for the coming trials. Some meditated, others reviewed tactical manuals, and a few engaged in last-minute weapons maintenance. Marcus Chen sat quietly in his quarters, making final preparations for a demonstration that would change how the galaxy viewed human military capabilities. His old rifle lay beside him, cleaned and ready. But that rifle was only the beginning of what he had brought to Zephyr Station. The combat trials would begin in just a few hours, and Marcus was very much looking forward to them. The alarm echoed through Zephyr Station at exactly 0800 hours. Calling all competitors to Combat Arena 7, Marcus Chun walked through the corridors, his rifle case slung across his shoulder and a small equipment bag in his other hand. Around him, alien soldiers moved with confident strides, their advanced weapons gleaming under the station's bright lights. Combat Arena 7 was massive, a kilometer long, space designed to simulate various battlefield conditions. Holographic projectors could create any environment from dense jungle to urban warfare zones. Today, the arena displayed a rugged mountain landscape with rocky outcroppings, deep valleys, and scattered vegetation. Attention, competitors! Colonel Thainrose' voice boomed across the arena. Today's trials consist of 3 phases. Phase 1, precision marksmanship at various ranges. Phase 2, tactical movement through hostile territory. Phase 3, elimination combat against automated defense systems. Marcus looked around at his fellow competitors. 57 warriors from across the galaxy stood ready to prove themselves. The betting pools had already reached astronomical numbers, with most money placed on the favorites, Commander Vexstar, Lieutenant Zickdahl, and Captain Mordeth. Competitors will be scored on accuracy, speed, tactical thinking, and survival, the colonel continued. The top 10 scorers will advance to next week's elite trials. Begin Phase 1 immediately. The marksmanship range materialized before them. Targets appeared at distances from 100 meters to 2 kilometers, some stationary, others moving in complex patterns. Each competitor would fire at 20 targets, with points awarded for accuracy and time. Commander Vexstar stepped up first. His plasma cannon hummed to life, energy coils glowing bright blue. He took aim at the first target, a stationary disc at 200 meters. Vroom! The plasma bolt struck dead center, vaporizing the target completely. "Excellent!" shouted one of his Krillian supporters. "Show them real firepower." Vexstar moved quickly through his targets, his plasma cannon destroying each one with devastating efficiency. His time was impressive, 4 minutes and 37 seconds for all 20 targets. Lieutenant Zickdahl went next, his 6 arms allowing him to operate his complex energy rifle with incredible precision. Each shot split into multiple beams that could track different targets simultaneously. He completed his run in 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Captain Mordeth's fusion lance left glowing craters where the targets used to be. The heat from his weapon was so intense that nearby competitors had to step back to avoid burns. His time was slower, but his accuracy was perfect. One by one, the alien competitors demonstrated their advanced weapons. Energy beams, plasma bolts, fusion lances, bioprojectiles that could change direction mid-flight, and gravitational weapons that crushed targets from the inside out. Then Marcus's name was called. A wave of snickers and whispered comments followed him as he walked to the firing line. He opened his rifle case slowly, revealing the weapon that had caused so much amusement. Compared to the gleaming energy weapons of his competitors, the M24 looked primitive and outdated. "Place your bets now," someone called out. How many targets will the human actually hit? I give him 5 out of 20, laughed a Vexery pilot. You're generous, replied a Thrax soldier. That old weapon probably can't even reach the distant targets. Marcus ignored the commentary and methodically assembled his rifle. He attached the scope, checked the bolt action, and loaded a magazine with his specially designed ammunition. Each bullet had been crafted with precision that exceeded anything available when the original rifle was manufactured. He settled into a prone position, looking through his scope at the first target. The advanced optics immediately provided range, wind speed, target movement prediction, and environmental factors. But Marcus had been shooting long before he had such technology, and muscle memory guided his movements. The first shot rang out, a sharp crack that seemed almost quiet after the energy weapon's dramatic sounds. The target, a moving disc at 500 meters, dropped with a clean hole through its center. Some of the laughter died down. Marcus worked his bolt, ejecting the spent cartridge and chambering a new round. His movements were smooth and practiced. The second shot took down a target at 800 meters. By his fifth shot, the arena had grown noticeably quieter. Marcus was hitting targets that some of the energy weapons had missed. His rifle might be old, but his accuracy was surgical. Each bullet found its mark with mechanical precision. The distant targets, those at 1,500 and 2,000 meters, were supposed to be the most challenging. Many competitors struggled with these ranges. Even with their advanced targeting systems, Marcus adjusted his scope and took aim at a target weaving through the air at 1,800 meters. He calculated wind drift, bullet drop, and target movement in his head, skills honed through thousands of hours of practice. Crack. The target exploded into fragments. Whispers began circulating through the watching crowd. How was a human with an antique rifle outperforming warriors with the galaxy's most advanced weapons? Marcus completed his run in 3 minutes and 12 seconds, faster than all but 3 competitors, and with perfect accuracy on all 20 targets. Commander Vexstar stared at the human in disbelief. Lucky shots, he muttered to his companions. Phase 2 will show his true limitations. But privately, Vexstar was beginning to worry. He had underestimated the human, a mistake he rarely made in combat. Phase 2 began immediately. The arena transformed into a complex urban environment filled with automated sentries, moving barriers and hostile terrain. Competitors had to navigate from one end to the other while avoiding detection and neutralizing threats. The alien soldiers used various approaches. Some relied on brute force, blasting their way through obstacles. Others used stealth technology to remain invisible. A few employed speed, racing through the course faster than the automated defenses could track them. Marcus took a different approach entirely. He studied the course layout for several minutes, identifying patterns in the sentry movements and weakness points in the defensive grid. While other competitors charged ahead, Marcus waited and planned. When he finally moved, it was with calculated precision. He used natural cover and shadows, moving only when sentries were looking elsewhere. His old rifle proved surprisingly advantageous. It produced no energy signature for the sensors to detect, and its projectiles were difficult for the automated systems to trace back to his position. At one point, he encountered a group of 4 sentries guarding a narrow passage. Other competitors had either fought their way through with heavy firepower or found alternate routes that added significant time to their runs. Marcus found a third option. He climbed to an elevated position overlooking the passage and waited. When the sentries began their patrol rotation, he fired 4 shots in rapid succession. Each bullet found its target before the automated systems could react or alert others. The passage was clear in under 10 seconds. Watching, alien soldiers began to pay closer attention to the human's tactics. His approach was unlike anything they had seen, patient, calculated, and devastatingly effective. How did he know their patrol pattern? Asked a young Vexery observer. He studied them, replied his sergeant. While others were rushing ahead, he was learning. Marcus completed Phase 2 in second place, beaten only by Lieutenant Zikta, who had used advanced stealth technology. But Marcus had relied solely on skill and tactics, which impressed the observing officers more than they cared to admit. Phase 3 was the elimination round, direct combat against increasingly difficult automated opponents. Competitors faced off against robotic enemies designed to simulate various alien combat styles. This was where the advanced weapons truly shone. Energy rifles could fire repeatedly without reloading. Plasma cannons could destroy multiple enemies with each shot. Fusion lances could punch through the heaviest armor. Marcus's rifle held only 5 shots per magazine. And reloading took precious seconds that could mean the difference between victory and defeat. The first wave of enemies was simple, basic combat drones with light armor and standard energy weapons. Most competitors destroyed them easily. Marcus took careful aim and fired once. His bullet tore through 2 drones that had lined up accidentally. He worked his bolt, aimed, and fired again. Another drone fell. Clever, admitted Lieutenant Zichtel grudgingly. He's using their positioning against them. The second wave brought heavier enemies, armored units with shields and more advanced weapons. Here, the energy weapons showed their superiority, blasting through defenses that might stop kinetic rounds. But Marcus had a surprise. His rifle was loaded with armor-piercing rounds designed specifically for alien technology. When he fired, the bullets punched clean through energy shields that were supposed to be impervious to projectile weapons. "Impossible," gasped Captain Mordith. "Those shields can stop plasma bolts." "Human ammunition technology," observed Colonel Thainrose from the observation deck. "We may have underestimated their material science." The third wave was brutal combat mechs designed to simulate the most dangerous enemies in the galaxy. These machines could withstand fusion lance strikes and return fire with weapons that could level buildings. Several competitors were eliminated in this round, their advanced weapons unable to penetrate the mech's armor.